Thank you. Convening the House Committee on Culture, Arts, and International Affairs for the purposes of hearing several Senate bills. Today is March 13th, 2024. The time is 10 o'clock a.m. here in conference room 309. I know that we have a lot of individuals here to testify on the first two measures before us, so we're going to take testimony for the first two measures, and then we're going to recess to let everyone get dispersed to let the testifiers for the next bill come in, because I'm pretty sure everyone's here for this one and not the last one. But there will be a 1 minute time limit in order for us to make sure that we get through all the bills, because we do have to be in session by 12 o'clock. And I want to give the members time to get ready for that. So we will try to end by 11:30. But first up, we have Senate Bill 541 relating to Hawaiian affairs. It establishes January 17th of each year as Reconciliation Day to commemorate the memory of Queen Liliuokalani and the illegal overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii, provided that this day is not and shall not be construed to be a state holiday. Based off of the testifier list, I don't have anyone signed up to testify in person, but we do have testimony in opposition from this one individual and the Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies. We're going to first move on to individuals in the room. Is there anyone that wants to testify on Senate Bill 541 ST1? Will you please come up to the podium? Remember to state your name and the position that you take on the measure before us.
Aloha, Chair Tam and members of the committee. Thank you so much for hearing this very important bill. My name is Laura Acasio, and I am testifying in support. And we just want to make sure that you know that on this committee that it is very important to many people to be speaking truth in the building and really being clear about history. And we really mahalo you for hearing this bill and passing it forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to testify on the measure before us? Go ahead. Remember to state your name and whether you support or oppose the bill.
Aloha, mahalo e ka luna noho. Ta me keia kimokele no ka holohe ana I ko mamana o keia la. O Venui Davis naka ko inoa a kako o vau I keia pila elima e ha e kahi. O iai he mea nui o Liliuokalani I ko kako la hui a hiki keia pila ke ho'omana'o I ka lehu I kona hana nui no kako a me ka eha I loa ai kako e ka la hui, ko la hui, ka la hui Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Okay. Aloha. Mahalo nui e ke luna noho o Tam a me nā komika o keia mea. Kako wau I keia pila o iai he mea nui keia no mako no ka ho'omaopopo ana I keia hanana I hanai o keia wā. Mahalo nui I ka Representative Tam. And I support this bill because it is something that we should always remember. Because it's something that he mea ho'ohewa. Ai mahalo.
Thank you so much.
Aloha. Mahalo I ka luna noho Tam a me ke komike. Aio ohauli ko inoa. Aio mana I e kako I ka pila sabe e ha e or elima e ha e kahi no ka mea I kou manao he mea koikoi ka ho'olaha ana I ke koikoi o ka moa kala Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to testify on the measure before us? Senate Bill 541, SD1. Okay, Seeing none, we're going to move on to Zoom right now. Is there anyone on Zoom wishing to testify on Senate Bill 541 SD1? No? Okay. All right, we're going to move on to questions now. Members, any questions to the testifiers?
Can I have a question?
Yes, Rep. Capella.
Can I actually bring, sorry, the first young student that spoke? Thank you. Thank you so much for testifying. I really appreciated it. Unfortunately, I don't Olelo. And I really want to understand a little bit more about why this is so important to you and why the history is so important to you. And if you can expand on that for the committee, I think that would be wonderful for all of us.
It's just so that everybody could know the truth and the hurt that we as a Lahui felt.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members or guests have any questions? Do you want to recognize Rep. Kahaloa? Thank you for your study abroad into our committee. Seeing that there's no one else to testify on the measure or any other questions, we will be moving on to our next item on the agenda. Senate Bill 2657 SD1, relating to Makahiki Commemoration Day, establishes Makahiki Commemoration Day. We have two individuals that testified in support, that submitted testimony in support of the measure before us, and no one signed up to testify in person. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to testify on Senate Bill 2657? You should go ahead and line up at the podium.
Aloha nui e nā luna maka e nana i a ko mai ka luna ho malu. It's the tam. Aloha nui. Mahalo kia hui ano kako kia la. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'll concede to English. So I'm in support. My name is Kaliko Baker. I'm one of the authors of the testimony, one of the testimonies you received today. And I just want to say that I will make myself available for whatever sort of consultation the Senate or House needs in this measure to get it through. There are some questions about when the Makahiki dates should be set, and we could convene a meeting on that if we need to, or whatever, talk story, however we want to do it. But yeah, that's good. Mekai, mahalo nui. So I'm in support.
Thank you.
Mahalo nui.
Next.
Aloha mai kako e na mea hano keia ko Mike, o au o le Aloha Kambonga, e au e kako o na keia pila, e mauai ke ea o ka aina I ka pono ki ko pau. So I'm just here to support so that the life of this land can be forever perpetuated in righteousness, and that is one of the foundations of this pila. Mahalo.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Aloha. Mahalo I ke kono ana ia mako e hele mai ke aha. Mahalo I ka hui ova o Ioane Miller. Ka ko ova I ke apila no ka mea koi loa ke hoa mana e ole ka manao o ke la I hiki ke maha I kana au o ka poe Hawaii mai ho'okahi wā I ke kai wā. Mahalo.
Thank you. Mahalo.
Okay. Aloha mai kākou. Aloha. Mahalo no ke kono ana mai ia mākou nā kula ho'omana. O ko'u mana'o no ia pila ke kākou o piha. Make wau e kākou o ke ia pila no ka ho'omau ana I ka mākou la hui ma o ka pa'ina ana, ka malama ana, I ka mea ai, nā hanana. Ai, kākou o piha wau. Mahalo.
Aloha kako.
Aloha.
Mahalo e ka luna noho tam me na elele apau o ke ko Mike no ka mo'omeheo a me na hana no eau. O mehela ni lono wau no hilo kaua kanilehua. He leo kako o keia I kea pila. No ka ho'okumu ana I la e ho'omana'o ai e wehe ai I keia kau makahiki. So I'm in support of this bill 2657. I know there may be maybe a little doubt in some people because from different islands, different schools, they may open makahiki on a different date. And like it was previously mentioned, there might be questions as to the details and when it's established. But overall, the Mana'o Nui, the main idea of it and commemorating this season, this day, I'm in full support of this. Ai, mahalo no kalohe ana mai. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Aloha mai kako,
Aloha.
o wau kaipoi kealing, a kako o piha wau ki a pila. No ka mea wā koikoi ke ia, makahiki I ka lahui, wā koikoi no nā kupuna, wā koikoi no ki a paiaina o Hawaii nei. E ho'o mao kako ki a ano, no hona kanaka, no leila kako o piha wau ki a pila. Aloha mai, I support this bill because makahiki season is very important fabric of this land. It is a cultural practice that we all can participate and benefit from. And so strengthening our bodies and our minds and giving ourselves that rest is so important to have the balance instead of just go all the time. So this makahiki allows that recharging. So I'm all for it. Mahalo.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify? I have a room full of people. Come on. Yeah, just come up to the podium and. Okay, well, let's switch to Zoom for a bit. And is there anyone on Zoom wishing to testify? Okay, they said no. So I'll bring it back to the room. Is there anyone in the room that wants to testify on the bill before us? Don't be shy.
Gonna get extra credit.
Yeah. Okay, everyone in support of both bills, put up your hand. Okay. Well, that's all I need. Okay, we're going to move on to questions. Members, any questions? Oh, Vice Chair?
Aloha. Anybody can answer my question. Can you explain further or expand what is makahiki? Anybody?
Aloha, Representative Martinez. What is makahiki? It's kind of like asking, what is Christmas? What is Easter? It's complex, right? Basically, makahiki, as we like to commemorate it, I believe at the state level for now. Perhaps in the future there'll be something different. It would just be an acknowledgement of the turning of the new new year for Hawaii, because like the Chinese New Year, we just had it,
Yeah.
and it's at a different time, right? And it goes by the lunar and sort of celestial things. So the makahiki as well for Hawaiian, it starts in Ikua, which is roughly around October, and then during the month, the kapu nights of Hua is when the time really starts to switch and we acknowledge a new year. So the makahiki is sort of a New Year's celebration for Kanaka Maoli. Is that good? That's short and sweet.
And
You have another follow?
Can I have a follow-up question?
Go ahead,
And how
please.
is it celebrated?
How is it celebrated today? The makahiki it's a circuit of celebrations where traditionally the kualoa would walk around to the districts that were under the malu, the care of a certain chief, and collect taxes and celebrate the new season, etc. Today, the makahiki is celebrated by various communities, as I believe Mahelani shared earlier, how various communities come together, congregate around the time of makahiki, so between Ikua and Velehu normally, so the months of October and November. And what we have is celebrations of from ceremony to games to parties to all kinds of things. So it's somewhat like the Hawaiian version of what happens around the week or so around Christmas, where you get New Year's and Christmas and all that. It's kind of like that, if we want to try to wrap our minds around that.
Thank you.
And it was also a significant part of the Kaho'olawe movement. It's really the reason that the Emmett Luli versus the Navy lawsuit was able to be settled under the Native American Freedom Religious Freedom Act. Yes. So anyway, it's got a long history here.
Hello, my name is Isaac Opai. Makahiki is basically when the Hawaiians come together and they play a bunch of games. And these games is based on them showing who has more mana and who can do what better. And yeah, that's basically kind of what it is.
Aloha. So makahiki is for us is like a resting point. So we work from one point to another, then rest from one point to another. So it's like giving our bodies some rest so we can have fun instead of just keep working from one year to another and keep going. Yeah, mahalo.
Makahiki is the time of the year where people come together and there's different ways how to celebrate and different parts of makahiki. Makahiki, there's the game part and then there's the part you have to do before. Makahiki, for the starting of the bit, it's more like you have to pay taxes, kind of. So they pay lono by these ahupua'a and their rocks on top of each other, and then there's usually a boar head on top. So what happens is usually during this time, people, depending what their occupation is, they give something and they put it and they place it on top of those rocks, and that's how they pay their taxes. So if you're a fisherman, you would usually give nets, like fishing nets, or you would give fish. If you're a farmer, you would usually give something like kalo, which is taro, and rocks that you make poi with. And then there's the game part, where most people explained already. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kahivo, and makahiki to me is like, what I learned is makahiki is the time where the wars stop and they come together to play these games. Some of these games are based on strength, and then some are based on strategy. So the time of makahiki is where wars stop and people come together and prepare. Thank you.
Okay, aloha ho kako. No ka'umeke he ahamua, which is a ceremony where we give offerings to our akua, like Lono, the god of peace. And so we give his kinolau, like kalo, ohe, kawai. Once we finish with the ceremony, that's when we begin the games for ka'umeke. I don't know if it's like no na kulaia'e, but no kako, that's what we do. That's what we do every year on makahiki apo. Thank you for having me.
Aloha kako. Kalamai my voice, but I just had to say something.
Go ahead.
Okay, they love games. This is the season of games and playing and that kind of stuff. But we have to remember what our kupuna did this for, right? And there was always a season of war, and then all of a sudden now you have a season of peace and prosperity, and everybody coming together as ohana and sharing. We forget about those kind of things. Those things are most important. Of course, we know when it starts. You know, the ikua, the stars come up, makali'i, all of those things are important for us to remember why those things come around. Time for collect taxes and all of that is important too, because we always have to give back. That's what it is. You know, not just take, but you always hold back what you're giving, yeah, and that season of giving was distributed among the people. You got to remember that. So it's a season of giving, just like Christmas. We're always giving back. Okay? So, season of peace. We play games, not only games. We dance hula. We have hula competitions, all during this time. It's everything that we do to commemorate the season. Right? Right. Yeah. Not because we just love playing games. We have to aloha aina, malama aina, take care of everything too. It's kakoa, pao. It's our kuleana. Okay, mahalo.
Thank you. Dr. Baker, I have one question. So this SD1, they blanked out the date they erased the November 20th in the SD1. So I assume this is sort of just like, as you said, Lunar New Year, where it's not necessarily going to fall on a specific date. I want to move this out with a date in mind to leave it not blank. The 20th of November this year actually falls on the third Wednesday of the month of November. Do you think it would be fitting to amend the measure before us to substitute that blank day with that the third Wednesday of the month of November shall be Makahiki Commemoration Day, or would it be more appropriate to leave it at November 20th?
I would say to move it out of November into October, because that's when Ikuwa generally correlates with. And I believe that's, like my last two testimonies said that. It says to move it into the lunar month of Ikuwa around the moons of Mohalu, Hua, Akua, which is 14th, 15th, 16th night of the lunar calendar, I guess. Or maybe minus one. Yeah, I would say that. And it's easy to project these dates going forward. I mean, I did it really quickly on my phone yesterday with an app. I mean, you get some people that actually know what they're doing and calculating dates and such and moons and things like that. You could probably go like 10 years down or something, you know.
That's the issue with the bill, is that we have to put a solid date in or something in there. We can't just leave it blank and make it into law.
There's going to be another hearing after this, I'm assuming?
There'll possibly be another hearing after this, because it will go to judiciary after this.
Okay.
The other thing that can be done is usually
is that a third something in October? Anybody get Manao? I think we have, yeah.
Yeah, I liked in his testimony how he mentioned
Yeah.
Easter. We have Thanksgiving. There's not dates that fall within that calendar, specific days. So
Yeah.
pointing towards the lunar calendar, I think,
Yeah.
is where we should go. And that's what Makahiki is. It's a way of building and recognizing and observing your relationship with the environment and what's going on around you. Like there's Manao to that word, Ikuwa.
Exactly.
Specific characteristics to that month. And so
That's exactly why I'm hesitant, yeah.
Of this time system we use now, the calendar we use now, going back to how it was before and focusing on the moon phase. Of that.
Not sure how I can write that into the bill, but Rep. Kahalo, you have something?
Thanksgiving isn't on the November 25th.
Yeah.
Chair, thank you for allowing me to ask a question, even though I do not sit on this committee. Based on his testimony that I'm reading, if I could help write some of the language recommendation in the amendment, he's quite specific on how we could observe it. It isn't necessarily a day, but I don't know if we would be allowed to say in the month of October, and acknowledging the lunar month of Ikua, and then stating the like basically we could get quite specific to be more accurate, or pick the third X of October. We could do either or, but I would be happy to help using this testimony to propose a more specific amendment.
I think there needs to be more dialogue on this, more discussion on this.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the way it's written into our statute when it comes to Good Friday and Thanksgiving is that for Thanksgiving, I think it's the last Thursday of the month of November in our statute.
And then Easter has also been sort of standardized to be the Good Friday it's in the
first
testimony.
Monday after Good Friday.
Yeah. There's a moon and there's a thing, and then something. So this is a little more specific to the Hawaiian lunar calendar, the Kaulana Mahina, and to say that we wouldn't. To say that, I think we'd like to say that we'd like to see our Hawaiian moon calendar acknowledged by the state of Hawaii and have it somehow enter into law that we acknowledge the Hawaiian moon calendar as real, and thus sort of humanizing our Kanaka ways.
Yes, Yes, Sensei.
Aloha mai kākou, I'm Vicky Holt Takamine. I'm Kumuhula Pua Ali'ilima and the Executive Director of Pa'i Foundation and the grandmother of Kau'i Kaikapu Takamine. Aloha. We produced this year, Pa'i did, a Kaulana Mahina planner that lays out our Hawaiian months according to the lunar calendar with the help of Kale Nu'uhiwa. And so we produced this calendar. Representative Daniel Holt has a copy of the calendar. I'm happy to bring one for all of you. That lays out the lunar months. Our Hawaiian month calendar, the Hawaiian month is laid out in 3 weeks. We are now in Ho'onui, when the moon is waxing, it's getting bigger. It's the first 10 days. So our weeks are 3 10-day weeks in 1 month. So we are currently in Ho'onui, where the moon is getting larger. We will be in Poipoi when it's in its full moon stage, and then in the waning stage, there's another 10 days. So our lunar calendar goes accordingly. And along with that, so today is Kulua. It's the second day of Ku, and it's a good day for partnerships, and it's a good day for these kinds of discussions. I'm happy to share with your committee the lunar calendar, and then we can work together on developing a better day or a better methodology of setting when our makahiki season starts, the rising of the Pleiades and the setting. So we are currently in the season of Ku, which is the time of politics. And but it's also the time of politics. It's also the time of war. It's when the god Ku comes out and we start to discuss politics and war. Makahiki is a time of peace and agriculture and celebration of arts and culture. So I will bring a calendar planner for your committee, and then I'll have it delivered today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ehiamo, how many do we need? One for everybody in the state ledge? Would be helpful, yeah?
So.
Right? Okay.
So,
anyway.
Members, any other questions? Okay. We're going to actually recess for decision making, and then we're going to come back after I talk with my members of what we're going to do. And you guys can stay in the rooms because we will vote these out. Okay?
Thank you. Mahalo.
Recess. Reconvening the Committee on Culture, Arts, and International Affairs. The 10 o'clock a.m. agenda here in Conference Room 309. Today is March 13th, 2024 for decision-making on the first two measures that we heard. And then following that, we're going to move into hearing the next bill on the agenda. First up, Senate Bill 541 SD1. Thank you so much for everyone that testified. We're going to move this out as an HD2 to encourage further discussion by defecting the date. Members, any comments or questions?
Sorry, Chair, HD1?
As an HD1, yeah.
Thank you.
Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 541 SD1. Chair Tam and Vice Chair Martinez voting aye. Rep Garrett?
Aye.
Rep Capella?
Aye.
Rep Matayusi is excused. Rep Sayama?
Aye.
And Rep Alcos is also excused. Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Senate Bill 2657 SD1 relating to Makahiki Commemoration Day. We are also going to pass this out with an HD1. We're going to defect the date. We're going to continue to leave the date blank, and we're going to note in the committee report Dr. Kuliko Baker's testimony to encourage further discussion in the next committee. Hopefully we can get some language for that, okay? Members, any questions or comments?
A quick comment.
Yes, Rep. Capella.
I would just like to thank all of the students and Kumu and Dr. Baker for not only authoring the bill, but also to the students for testifying. Thanks a lot for doing that.
I hope you all get extra credit for this. I don't need extra credit. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on Senate Bill 2657 SD1. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Any member voting with reservation? Any member voting no? And with Rep Matayoshi and Alco's excuse, Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you so much. We're going to do a quick recess so you guys can exit out the room so that we can move on to our next agenda, okay? Recess. Thank you, everyone. Reconvening the Committee on Culture, Arts, and International Affairs, the 10 o'clock agenda on March 13, 2024, here in Conference Room 309, for the purposes of hearing several Senate bills before us. Well, continuing hearing one Senate bill. First up, we have Senate Bill 3281 SD1 relating to culture and the arts. It requires that the State of Hawaii Museum of Natural and Indigenous History and the State of Hawaii Museum of Monarchy History Boards of Directors Each include 2 ex officio non-voting members to be selected from partnering state agencies and departments. It requires the State of Hawaii Museum of Natural History and Indigenous History to submit an annual report to the legislature. It establishes standards and conditions that the State of Hawaii Museum of Natural and Indigenous History must meet to receive state funds. It makes an appropriation. It declares that the appropriation exceeds the state's general fund expenditure ceiling for the years of 24 to 25. First up, we have DeSoto Brown from Bishop Museum.
Hello, everyone. I am DeSoto Brown. I am the Bishop Museum historian, and I'm the curator for the archives department at the museum. I have spent over 40 years as both a volunteer and a full-time employee of Bishop Museum, and I'm going to be addressing specifically the stated change of Bishop Museum's title to replace the word cultural with the word indigenous. Since its inception in 1889, Bishop Museum has collected literally millions of specimens representing both natural and cultural history. In the latter category, cultural history, the museum has never confined its collecting or research to strictly indigenous cultural materials. And by that, when I'm speaking here, I'm referring to indigenous Hawaiian culture specifically. And we have innumerable pieces from many different Pacific cultures, as well as many other areas of the world. And may I just point out, the Pacific material we have is particularly important because, like the Hawaiian Islands, many of those indigenous cultures have lost a great deal of what they once owned, both artifacts and oral history and knowledge they used to have. It is preserved at Bishop Museum. Now, we also have a great deal of things from other areas of the world, particularly those associated with the people who came here, who are our ancestors, who came to the Hawaiian Islands from other places. These form an irreplaceable segment of our collections, and we will continue to preserve, study, and exhibit them, regardless of them being indigenous or not. Furthermore, we will also continue to collect such non-indigenous items as they become available to us. To highlight such non-indigenous collections, I want to point out that from the 1970s to the 1990s, an organization affiliated with Bishop Museum, the Hawaii Immigrant Heritage Preservation Center, or HIHPC, sought to collect such non-indigenous items from members of the local population, meaning that a great many things from China, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Portugal, and other European countries came into the collection that were brought here by immigrants or were associated with them. These artifacts subsequently became part of Bishop Museum after HIHPC was absorbed into the museum in the 1990s. The donors of these pieces entrusted them to the museum with the understanding that they would be cared for and valued indefinitely into the future. This trust must be carried on, and Bishop Museum, as the State Museum of Natural and Cultural History, will continue to do so, and I emphasize cultural over indigenous. The change of the museum's title under discussion here has not been instigated by us, nor requested by us, and it never would be requested by us because it is not representative of what we've been doing for over 125 years. To be able to, or to be confined to being strictly or exclusively indigenous, as this new title implies, is neither workable nor wanted. The museum must continue to use its existing title, State Museum of Natural and Cultural History, which was created several decades ago after a great deal of thought and discussion. To change this important part of identity, this change is being imposed upon us without our regard, our input, or it's against our desires. So I say very strongly that I object and do not support the change of our title. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have DJ Miller from the Bishop Museum with comments.
Aloha oko, Thank you so much for listening to our story this morning. I am the CEO of Bishop Museum and happy to be here. This gentleman that just was before you, DeSoto Brown, I've learned a lot from. He actually perfectly stated the impact of that particular change in designation that we oppose at the Bishop Museum. I'd like to talk about some of the other parts of the bill and then also talk about what appears to be the need for this change. And so what I do want to be clear about is that we have said yes to having 2 seats on the board that are ex officio non-voting, so that is not an issue for us. We actually think that's a good idea because we partner with many of the state agencies, and this will then make the partnership even stronger. 2, we say yes to the reporting requirements that are in the bill. That we are already doing and is necessary, especially given the fact that you all have been able to help us very much last year and this year with $7.5 million in funding. Now, we realize that the funding is not guaranteed, and we realize that the funding necessarily has to go partially, maybe at some point, to help others, but we are so grateful for that, and I don't want that to be lost in our opposition to the designation. Second, and finally, there has been a wonderful suggestion that there be CIP monies provided to Bishop Museum to restore Bishop Hall. We love that. We have a lot of work to do with Bishop Hall. We have to empty it first in order to do work there. So that will take a long time, and so we certainly appreciate the offer, and if that does come sometime in the future, we will welcome that. So back to our opposition of the change in designation from cultural to indigenous. Again, DeSoto covered it beautifully, and we have many testimonies about that. I want to stress one point that I received yesterday when I was talking to someone that actually has Kuleana for the entire Pacific. And she didn't know about this bill. And so I explained it to her, and her eyes were in shock. She said, "What?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "That means that our collections and our knowledge," back to what DeSoto said, "are in jeopardy. We don't have places to keep them. You all have been stewarding them for us, and thank goodness you're helping us to get them home at some point when we're capable of caring for our own people and places and memories." She said, "That can't happen." I think you're going to have her testimony here today. So when I think, and I've been here for a year, so when I heard about this, and we talked to Senator Lee about the need for this legislation, he said that there had been concerns expressed by very small not-for-profit arts and cultural organizations that felt that they could not compete with the Bishop Museum for grants, federal grants, coming their way. And so this was his one way of sort of narrowing our mission so that perhaps we could be less competitive with them or giving them more ability to get grants. We are all for our cousins in the smaller not-for-profits getting money, for certain. And I'd like to bring up, if I may, Chair Janet Bullard, to talk about that. Is that okay?
Aloha, Chair Tam, committee members. I'm Janet Bullard. I'm the Vice President of Advancement at Bishop Museum. And I wanted to address what DJ was just talking about in terms of competition for grants and the inability of smaller nonprofits to compete for grants. One of the things that we started, actually, it was last year, we applied for an IMLS grant, which is a federal grant. This grant was specifically applied for so that we, Bishop Museum, could support nonprofits and smaller art organizations in Hawaii to become more competitive and provide professional development for their grant work. So in November, we sent out an email to about 50 nonprofit and smaller art organizations to invite them to come into this new learning opportunity and networking opportunity. About 27 of those organizations responded and have been participating in monthly what is called coffee chats. So what we did was to contract with another organization. The two partners are former directors at the museum. And what they are doing is they're conducting professional development series to strengthen the grant writing, the grant management, and also sharing proposal opportunities with these other nonprofit and small art organizations. So that is ongoing work. The first cohort is currently in process. It is a 6-week program, and we provide mentorship. So that is one of the things that we're doing to sort of support the art and cultural community and other nonprofit organizations. The other thing that we're able to do is to support smaller organizations in our events and our programs. So we're able to provide, for instance, for some of the smaller, not even nonprofits, so at least if you're a nonprofit, you can actually apply for a grant, but there are independent artists who are not able to do so. And so we're able to, through our programming, through our exhibits, and through our events, provide financial support, provide exposure, and sort of elevate their art. And we do that in partnership with Hawaii Walls, for instance, and are able to pay them stipends and really promote and elevate their work in the community. When we work in partnership with these smaller nonprofit organizations, we coordinate on grant work. And so if they feel that they need to apply for a grant, we will back out or we will partner with them. So there is a lot of that partnership happening right now, and we are more than happy to coordinate and partner with all nonprofits and community art organizations, and that is something that we are actively doing.
So with that, as you can hear, there is no reason in our minds that we have to have our designation changed from cultural to Indigenous, because under our current designation, we are doing all of this kind of work. Thank you so much for listening to the testimony.
Thank you. Next up, we have Victoria Takamine. I'm assuming that's Auntie Vicky.
Aloha mai kākou, I'm Vicky Holt Takamine. I'm the Executive Director of Pa'i Foundation and the Kumuhula of Pu'ali'ilima. What's not in my testimony is that I have been at the Bishop Museum my entire life. My mother worked at the Bishop Museum as a receptionist under Dr. Spohr with Kavena Pukui, with Pat Bacon, with Mrs. Hohu. We were, I think I was like 10, 11 when she started working there. So we were a Bishop Museum brats that would come down from school at Kamehameha, walk down the hill, and then we'd run around the hallways, but I never knew how important all of these people were at that age until you get to my age, and I'm like, wow, I met Dr. Emery, I met Dr. Mitchell, I met all of these people that were scientists and researchers at the Bishop Museum, and I have been through those hallways my entire life. As a Bishop Museum brat, when we found out that this was being changed to Indigenous, I was like, it's an arts and cultural museum that has thousands and thousands of cultural artifacts. It's not just Indigenous. And Indigenous limits our collections. And I strongly oppose. I was like, how rude of you to change the determination without in consultation with the Native Hawaiian community. Because I don't think people in the Hawaiian community are aware of this change. And you know, I'm very capable of letting them know. And that would be we'd have a lot more people in the audience here sharing testimony if that gets out. And I don't want to get there. I really like to have our community and the people that are here share our concerns before we take it to the lahui. So I think this is not a good determination to change that Indigenous people are the people that are native to the islands. It is a culture of these people that defines who these people are. And the Bishop Museum has all of the cultural and artifacts. It really is an arts and cultural collection of many, many people, not just the indigenous people of Hawaii, but from all over the Pacific that have donated and shared their resources. There are artifacts that are not indigenous. And what happens to that then? Does that mean that the Bishop Museum has to give it up to somebody else? It was not ours to give. The collections that were given to Bernice Pauahi Bishop, for example, that are housed there, that are not indigenous, that may be Western, that may be European. Is that something that has to be not part of the Bishop Museum collection, and it's not your place to determine that? This is not the state's place to determine what stays in the Bishop Museum or how we conduct our business. The fact that we have been in business here longer than the state of Hawaii, the Bishop Museum has been around longer than the state of Hawaii, and respecting our cultural practitioners and our cultural traditions is very important to our people. Thank you so much. Mahalo.
Thank you. Chair wants to note that that is all that we have time to testify. We do have 8 members in oppose, 12 with comments, and 1 person in support of the measure. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to testify on the measure before us? Go ahead. Please state your name and and your position on the bill.
Aloha. Good morning, Chair Tam and all the representatives. My name is Robert Su. I'm the CIO for Bishop Museum. And the reason why I came here is I want the eyewitness to testify why it's so important for us to have this bill restored back to culture history. I'm a new immigrant from Taiwan. 40 years ago, I moved to Taiwan. And just from my experience working in the Bishop Museum, about a year and a half ago, the Taiwan ambassador came to Hawaii, visit Hawaii for 1 day, 1 night. She made a special trip to come to Bishop Museum to visit because she wanted to enhance the cultural exchange between Taiwan and Bishop Museum. Now she's a vice president-elect. She's gonna be vice president in a couple of months. So she's gonna enhance this cultural exchange opportunity between Taiwan, who is a very important ally for the United States. I think this opportunity. Recently, I got a message from my niece who worked for Taitung County in the east coast of Taiwan. She mentioned to me they're gonna come to Hawaii June to attend the Fed Pact. And she's in charge of that section. And she dig out a document, find out Bishop Museum have MOU with the county. That's just evidence to prove our collection not only limited to Hawaii indigenous cultures. And I think this is a very important change for the museum. We were able to explore our cultures and connection to all the country around the world, not just limited to Hawaii indigenous culture. And that's why I want to use my personal experience. I never talked to my CEO, president, and Janet about this. It just came to my mind last night I was sleeping. I'm a witness for this because I'm a new immigrant from Taiwan and I know Taiwan has strong connection here. And now the Taiwan vice president-elect, she's gonna look into, we're gonna enhance the cultural exchange. So if we limit to Hawaiian, indigenous only, we might lose opportunity for this. Thank you so much. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none. Members, any questions? Yes, Rep. Capella.
I'm actually not sure who might be the best person to address this, but on this hearing notice was one of the first times that I've actually heard of the bill. I don't think we had a House version of this bill. I'm wondering what the genesis was or why there is the change to try and turn it to indigenous. Does anyone know? I don't know. This had to have gone through the Senate already, so there had to have been opportunities to testify there as well. I think that's why I'm concerned.
I honestly am not the person to answer that. Probably the senator is. But the only thing that we were told was the issue about small not-for-profits not being competitive in federal grants. And you've heard that that issue is not a real issue. That's all we've heard, but I don't know what to say about the other reasons.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for testifying as well.
Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we're going to recess for decision making. Recess. Reconvening the Committee on Culture, Arts, and International Affairs for the purposes of decision-making on one bill off of the 10 o'clock a.m. agenda in Conference Room 309. First up, we have Senate Bill 3281 SD2 relating to culture and the arts. It requires that the State of Hawaii Museum of Natural Indigenous History and the State of Hawaii Museum of Monarchy and History Board of Directors each include 2 ex officio non-voting members to be selected from partnering state agencies, departments. It requires the State of Hawaii Museum of Natural History to submit an annual report to the legislature. It establishes standards and conditions that the State of Hawaii Museum of Natural Indigenous History must meet to receive state funds, makes an appropriations, declares that the appropriation exceeds the state general fund expenditure ceilings of 2024 to 2025. Okay, that was a lot. So we are going to pass this out as an HD1. We're going to make technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. We're going to revert back to the original name of the Bishop Museum, which is the Museum of Natural and Cultural History. And we're going to further amend the measure so that instead of having the board of select the two individuals, ex officio members for the Bishop Museum, it will be selected, the two ex officio members will be selected by the state comptroller from representing the state agencies and departments that are in direct partnership with the museum. Okay. Members, any comments or questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on Senate Bill 3281, SD2, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Rep. Garrett?
Aye.
Rep. Capella?
Aye.
Rep. Matayoshi? Rep. Sayama and Rep. Alkas excuse. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. We are adjourned.